Hello and welcome coders to the Sky Coding. This is part 3 video of our keys and we are just doing all of the keys. Okay, so in this video we will see about composite key and talking about the previous session. So we have covered unique key, primary key, foreign key, and we have basically covered all these three keys. And now in this session we will see about composite key. If you want to watch the previous session, so link will be given in the description box for the previous sessions. Okay, so now we will see about composite key and we will do the practical. Okay, so composite key is just a combination of two or more keys. Okay, basically sometimes there is a requirement to give two columns or three columns as a primary key. Okay, so in that case, if you are defining two columns or three columns as a primary key, then the combination of all those three columns primary keys will be called as a composite key. Composite key is just a combination of two or more attributes, two or more constants, or two or more keys. Okay, whether that may be a primary key, foreign key, or super key, or the candidate key. Okay, so all those combination of the keys is called as a composite key. Okay, basically composite key is useful when the table needs to identify all records more than one attribute, okay, uniquely. Okay, and if you want to talk about the column, so column used in the composite key can maybe have a different data type. There is no need that if you are defining two columns as a primary key, then those two columns must have same data type. There is no any mandatory type of thing there. Okay, those two columns can have a different data types. Okay, so it is not required to be same data type. Okay, so overall the composite key is just a combination of two or more primary keys. Okay, so this is my table and we are just going to use this database. Okay, so let's use this, and this is my simple table. I have written the metadata and I have written the insert query to insert the data. Okay, so that we can save the time in the video. Okay, so this is the table student 02, which is having roll number, name, class, section, and mobile. Okay, as we have not defined any of the keys here. Okay, so let's first of all create this table without any keys and try to insert the data, and let's see the difference between these things. Okay, so first of all let's create a simple table without defining any of the keys, then we will define the two primary keys and we will see that's a combination of the composite key. Okay, so let's first of all create this table without any primary key. Here we have not defined any of the keys. Okay, and now we will just insert this data. Okay, student 02 table. Okay, so let's insert this data. Okay, you can see we have inserted this data, and if you want to verify the data, then you can just verify the data as well. 02. Okay, you can student 02, you can see. Okay, we have inserted this data. Let's insert this column, let's insert this. Okay, what it is saying, unknown column roll number in the field list. Okay, so what it is showing, inserting this roll number. Guys, we have to give student 02 here as well, student 02 here as well, because we are just inserting the data in the student 02. And if you will check in this table, then we are having one more student table, right? Yeah, let me show you that table as well. Okay, so it was just trying to insert the data there, this table. Okay, this is not having that column, right? So let's insert the second, let's insert the third record, let's insert the fourth record, and now let's check the data. Okay, you can see we got all of the data. Okay, as we have not defined any key as a primary key, so we can insert the multiple IDs. Okay, suppose that this is one ID is already there, so if you are just going to execute this again, then it will again insert the data. You can see we are just inserting this data for the student for the roll number 1 again and again. Okay, so if you will check the data here, you can see we got one roll number 1 Aman lots of times. Okay, so we have not defined any keys as a primary key, that's why it is showing like this. Okay, so this is the difference, that if you are working without any keys, okay, so that there will be no data integrity. Okay, there will be just data duplicacy, that's why we use primary keys. Okay, so let's define the primary key here, and let's define the two columns as a primary key. Okay, so if you want to define two columns as a primary key, so how can you define that thing? So for that you have to just write here primary key, and I want to define primary key for this roll number column and roll number, and let's give for mobile as well. Okay, so by this way you can just define any columns as a primary key on any table. We have discussed this thing in the primary key video. Okay, you can pause that session. Okay, primary key, and I am just defining this roll number and mobile as a primary key. So here roll number and mobile number, these two columns is a primary key, so we can call this as a composite key because here we are defining two columns as a primary key. As the definition of the composite key says that the combination of two or more keys is called as a composite key. So here our roll number and mobile column is a primary key. Here we are having two primary keys, so it is called as a composite key. Okay, so now let's create this table with the primary key. So let's give this name as student03. Okay, so let's create this table created, and now let's insert this data on the student03. Okay, student03. Okay, so let's insert this data, guys. This is just a dummy data which I have copied from somewhere, right? So let's insert this data as well, and now let's check the data. Okay, you can see we got this data. Okay, so now if I am going to insert this data again, means this roll number 1 means Aman data again in the table, then it will throw you the error that duplicate entry for the roll number and mobile number. Okay, so let's insert this and let's see. Okay, you can see it is saying duplicate entry for this thing because we are entering the same number. Okay, so and this is just a work of the primary key. Okay, sometimes there is a requirement to define two columns as a primary key to identify those two columns uniquely. That's why we need to define two columns as a primary key. Okay, in that case we need a composite key. Okay, and there will be just one more requirement to define three columns as a primary key. Okay, you will see that three columns case rarely, but two columns is just very familiar. Okay, we will see that case that we are defining the two columns as a primary key. Okay, so this is how you can define the two columns as a primary key, and that will be called as a composite key. Okay, this is just a very simple thing. Okay, and this is all about this thing. And suppose that if you have created the table already, okay, and you have not defined any a column as a primary key or any key, unique key, foreign key, candidate key, super key. Okay, and you want to alter that table and you want to define the primary keys in that table, then how you can just do that thing. Okay, so for that you have to just write this alter statement. As earlier we have created this student02, so suppose that I want to define the primary key here in this student2, so I will just write alter, and you have to write the table keyword as well, alter table student02. This is my table name, and I am going to add a primary key. Okay, so add primary key, and you have to give the column names. Okay, so suppose that I want to define for a roll number, so I will just write here roll number, and I want to define for a mobile number as well, so I will just write mobile number. Okay, you have to write those columns in which you want to define as a primary key. Okay, so if you want to alter the table and you want to define any of the keys as a any of the column as a primary key, so you can write like this way and alter the table, and you can add primary key, or you can add the foreign key, unique key, candidate. You can alter anything. Okay, as we have done this thing later on, you can see we are just altering and we are just defining the foreign key later on after creating the table. Okay, and we have seen about on delete cascade and on update cascade. Okay, so the link for this session is given in the description box. We have briefly described about the foreign key because it is a very important thing. Okay, we have seen about the data integrity as well, how on update cascade and on delete cascade, and we are restricting those things. Okay, so this is all about the composite key. This is just a very simple thing. If you are facing any type of doubt, then you can just ask me. Basically composite key is just a combination of two or more primary keys, okay, or any keys. Okay, so this is all about the composite key. That's all for today's session. Meet you soon in the next very interesting tutorial, and from the next tutorial we will basically cover about triggers, or we will see joins. Okay, so that's all.